Okay, last week I talked about a homeschool reality. Your kids will whine and complain about homeschooling at times, sometimes many times. They will do this. It doesn't matter if it's the first day of your new school year or all throughout the year. There will be times that your kids whine and complain about school. It is not necessarily something that is caused by you. It is not necessarily just because they hate homeschooling and that homeschooling is a failure, that you are a failure, your curriculum is a failure. Nope, sometimes they're just going to complain no matter what you do. And just know that this is part of homeschooling. It's a part that many homeschool moms don't really like admitting, especially to people who do not homeschool. We don't want to admit that sometimes our kids really dislike homeschooling. Sometimes we really dislike homeschooling as well, and it's not something we feel very comfortable admitting. But I'm just going to come out and admit there are many days that my kids mutiny completely on me and refuse to do school. They will not cooperate with anything I do, even if it's a fun activity like a field trip. They've mutinied on field trips. It's shocking. It will happen, and it's okay. It doesn't mean that you are doing everything wrong and that you're doomed to homeschool failure. You can still have a successful homeschool. You just have to learn what to do when your little complainers start throwing a fit about homeschooling. First, you need to know that learning is really, really challenging, and they're going to complain about things that are challenging. So sometimes a concept or a topic might not come very easily to them. So what do? They complain because it's hard, and we do the same things. If there's a task that we really don't want to do, or a task that we consider really challenging or time consuming, we will complain about that task. Your kids do the same thing. So what can you do? So let me give you some tips to help you if you have complainers in your homeschool. We all do at times. So these are some things that I've done that have really helped with the complaining in our homeschool. So the first thing you need to do is give yourself and your kids grace. We all struggle. We all complain about things that we do not like doing. We are all sinners who need to be given that grace and forgiveness for all the times that we have bad attitudes. So know that it's not something about you or your curriculum or something you're doing wrong. Your kids are sinners just like you, and they need that grace and forgiveness because they're going to make mistakes just like you will. So be sure to extend yourself some grace, and definitely extend a lot of grace to your kids, because learning is hard, and it's okay if they're struggling and they may need to take out their frustration. But what I do is we have designated times where they can talk about their struggles and their frustrations. It is not at a time when they are screaming at me or talking disrespectfully to me. That doesn't work. They have to go take a break. So we have some designated times where I just check in with them. How are things going? What are you struggling with? And they know that they can come to me and say, I don't understand this, or I'm having a hard time with this. And so we have designated times that they can voice their complaints. And we've talked about the correct way to voice complaints. It is not screaming at me or yelling and crying, throwing a fit on the floor. It is just talking. And so they are more than welcome to talk to me about what they're liking, not liking, or what they think is just really not working. So we definitely talk about having respectful conversations, and those are things that we work on. I do not listen to them if they're not being respectful, but I do give them my full attention when they are trying to express something that is difficult or not working, as long as they're being respectful. And I have felt open to sharing times where I have felt maybe not as enthusiastic about learning or about homeschooling or about some other task that I had to do. This is especially helpful with my older ones. I've just been honest with them. Yeah, sometimes I don't enjoy it either. And sometimes I pull out the state law thing and say, you know what, guys? You have to be educated. It is the law. And so you can either go to school every day and do it that way, or you can be at home with me and we can do it that way. Now, I would choose to be at home with you because I enjoy spending time with you, usually. And I want to be the one to teach you because I want to learn with you. I really like doing this. But we have to learn. And sometimes I've just had to tell my kids, it's the law. I'm sorry. It's not some terrible rule that I have made up to torture you. The law says you have to be educated. I get to choose how that's going to be done, but that is the law, and that is just how it is. So it's kind of like giving the answer when they ask why. It's because I said so, because the law said so, and you're able to blame someone else. And so that's something that I've discussed with them of, Yes, the law says so. It's someone else's fault that you have to do this. So can we just agree to make it as painless as possible? I promise that I am going to try to bring my best attitude. Can you do the same? Can you bring your best attitude as we struggle through this together? Because we have to do it. So we might as well just do it right and have a good attitude about it. Then we sometimes have weekly, monthly meetings with our kids where we just talk about how they're doing, what's working. So this is kind of another time to head off problems before they actually happen. Just have these family meetings where we just talk about how our learning is going and where they feel they're excelling, where they feel they're struggling. And it's a great time for them to start voicing things before those things build up inside of them and come out in a big explosion or a tantrum. So we talk about their progress, but I get their perspective and just ask them what they think they're struggling with, what they think their biggest accomplishments are. And then I also have them brainstorm with me ways that we can make it better. Because homeschooling is not just about me telling my kids what to do. I want their learning to be their own. I want them to take responsibility for their own education so that they become lifelong learners. Education is not about me telling them you have to do this, you have to learn this, do this worksheet page. I want them to start being able to find things that they enjoy and also learn some of those things. So it's all about me trying to help them take personal responsibility for their own learning and education. So I definitely ask for their input during these meeting times, and we brainstorm ways to make them more productive, ways that they can enjoy things more. One thing that I did for several years, my oldest really struggled with all the little ones in the house. They were interrupting her school day. She couldn't focus. She was throwing tantrums every day about school. It had nothing to do with school, but all about the noise level and her inability to focus. So we've made some changes. I brainstormed with her some things that she thought would help, that would work for her, and we did those things. She started getting up before the little ones and working in some very quiet focus time with just me. So she had me all to herself while the little ones were sleeping, and she was willing to sacrifice and get up a little earlier so that we could have that uninterrupted time, and it cured a lot of the whining and tantrums that we were having. So definitely ask your kids what will help them. What do they think is a big challenge, and how can we fix that? How can we make it better? Then it is important to let them start making some of their own choices about their schedule, about their curriculum, or what subjects they are learning. So that doesn't mean that you hand them the catalogs and say, pick what you want to do, because as the parent, you are still in charge of their education. You need to pick what works for you, what works for your budget, what you know is going to satisfy requirements in your state. So there are guidelines that you do have to follow, but it is important for them to make their education their own. So sometimes you need to get their input on certain things. That might be choosing a unit study or an elective, or having them help choose field trips, anything that can kind of help them have a say in what you are learning and doing. It's really important that they start taking some responsibility for what they're learning so that they can make their education their own. You might also need to evaluate how your child is working. Some children need you with them right by their side for everything. Other children really want that independence. They don't want to do every subject with you sitting right there. They feel like you're just telling them what to do and you're just being bossy. And I had a child like that, and I had to realize, oh, she's actually going to work better if I just kind of give her her assignments and give her the book and let her go off and work. Or maybe she needs to do some DVD classes or things where it's able to do on kind of her own time, because she doesn't want me telling her what to do for every subject, for everything, and she just works better on her own in a quiet spot. So really decide how they're going to learn and help them take responsibility for their learning styles and their learning struggles. Know if you need to sit with them or if they need to be off on their own, kind of doing some of their own pursuits. Sometimes you might need to also use outside classes. So I have brought in some DVD learning, some online classes. We've done live online or recorded online classes. Some classes we've done, the kids actually submit their work to another teacher. So that teacher is grading, providing feedback, telling them what to do, what assignments they need to do, and when those assignments need to be completed. And that has really helped some of the complaining and the attitudes with my kids, because they realize, oh, other teachers do things the same way. They won't accept work like this either. Mom has always said, nope, sorry, that doesn't work. You have to redo this. This is not done well and it's not done correctly, yeah, the other teacher has the same rules. It's not just me. So it's been really nice for them to kind of see that other teachers have standards as well. It's not just me that has these impossible standards. Other teachers also have high standards and do hold them accountable as well. But I also think it's really important to empathize with them. And it's okay to share stories of times that you struggled learning, because learning is hard. We all struggle learning certain things. And we all complain about learning certain things. So it is really important that you empathize with them and just let them know that you completely understand that learning is hard and you are willing to support them. You are there to help them, but you do understand that it's challenging, but come to an agreement that it's going to be mutual respect here. That's what we have in our home. You're going to treat me with respect. I'm going to treat you with respect. So there's mutual respect. You can talk to me. I will listen, but I'm going to be able to talk to you in a respectful way, and you're going to need to also listen to me. So that is kind of how we've handled the complaining. It's very important that you always bring it right back to Scripture. And you bring it back to their attitude, their character. And that's the most important thing, because it's not about curriculum. It's not about homeschooling. It's not about you as the parent or the homeschool teacher. You didn't do something wrong. It is about their character, and your goal should be to raise kids who have really strong character. So your focus should be discipling them. So as you're going through all of these steps with them, you need to always be bringing it right back to Scripture and helping them understand that, yeah, that's our tendency. Our tendency is to complain and throw a fit and not want to do things. And that is the normal nature of a sinful person. But bring it back to Scripture and walk through the gospel story with them so that they can be discipled and really grow in character. So your kids will complain. It will happen. Don't take it personally. Just walk through the steps. Try some different techniques to deal with their complaining and whining, and it will get better. I have found as my older kids, as we've gone through these steps over and over, now they're more comfortable coming to me before things are too overwhelming, and we're able to brainstorm together and work and find things that really work for them instead of them just feeling constantly overwhelmed. So your kids will complain. Take time to listen. Create an atmosphere of mutual respect. And take it back to Scripture so that they can really be discipled and they can grow in character in your homeschool. Okay, if you want more great homeschool tips, be sure to subscribe below because I post videos weekly.